Happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome to Our Issues Birmingham. I'm delighted to have as our guest Eli Gold. He really needs no introduction. You know who he is. I know who he is.
I don't know who I am,
I
but
was
that's all
going
right.
to say, but he may not know who he is. But welcome.
Thank you, Tommy. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, and thanks for taking the time to come
Sure,
with us.
glad to do it.
How's your health, by the way?
It's
We've all
very,
been
very
concerned.
good. It was a tough year and a half dealing with cancer, but I just went to the doctor 2 weeks ago now, and everything was fine. We did all these tests. We did scans. We did blood work. We did everything. No traces of cancer any longer.
Good for you.
So I'm thank God, knock wood, I'm doing very well.
Well, you look good.
I feel good.
That's
I
great.
feel good.
That's great.
I still have a face for radio. Let's not get carried away here, but I do feel well. Yes.
Well, speaking of radio, you have been, from what I understand, involved in almost every sport that I can think of.
Yeah.
From a common, would you call yourself a sportscaster?
I call myself yes, technically sportscaster. I consider myself a professional describer.
Okay.
Because I can describe darn near anything. And that, of course, lends to live sporting events, and it helps very much. But yeah, I'm a sportscaster. I've done every sport with the exception of golf and ping pong, I guess. I've never done ping pong, but
Pickleball.
I've never done pickleball, but I'm certainly involved in calling the play-by-play for most everything else.
And particularly the University of Alabama.
Yes, for 36 years now, 37 years.
Well, I know when you were away for a while, you were tremendously missed.
Well, I appreciate it. I missed everybody.
Yeah.
I did too. It was not easy. It was not easy, and cancer is nothing to mess with, man. I was in bad shape. There were a couple of days there where the doctors didn't think I'd make it.
Oh,
you know, they told the family, you might want to hang around the hospital here because he may not make it through the night, and
here you are.
And here
on
I
my
am.
show.
So yes, which is enough to keep anybody motivated. The chance to sit down with Tommy is wonderful.
Well, how'd you get into this line of work? I know you're not from here.
No, I'm from New York City.
I hear that, and you've become a little bit Southern.
Yes,
but you still have that undercurrent of New Yorkiness.
Not as much as my folks did. My mother would always want to have a cup of coffee, and let me tell you who I saw yesterday. Stuff like that. I've never gotten quite that deep into the New York accent, but yeah, I lived there, born and raised in the city, and lived there till I was 23, and then moved here. The condensed version. After a couple of quick stops elsewhere on my way up the hockey broadcasting ladder, I eventually came to Birmingham back in 1977, I believe, or 78, and the rest, as they say, is hysterical.
Were you in hockey sportscasting back
Yes,
up until your 23rd year?
Yeah, I broadcast. Well, even beyond that, What got me to Birmingham was the arrival of the Birmingham Bulls, but the Major League version. The Major League version, which people may or may not remember, but back in the day, in the 70s and early 80s, there were two major leagues in hockey. The National Hockey League, which of course continues on, and the World Hockey Association. And Birmingham had a team in the World Hockey Association, and they needed a play-by-play guy. Gary Sanders had been doing some of the games, but, Gary had responsibilities with Auburn at the time, and he was not really a hockey guy. He was just, doing it, just filling in, helping out. I was a hockey guy. I had broadcast hockey in New York. I was very, very involved with it, and, I ended up coming here to do the Birmingham Bulls. And then once I was here, I ran into Gene Bartow, who started his UAB program at about the same time.
One of my favorite
Yes,
people.
great man. And he wanted a new voice for his new program, and that played into my hands. And Art Clarkson showed up with the Birmingham Barons,
Right.
who at that point were a Detroit Tiger affiliate in the AA Southern League, and he wanted to know if I'd be interested in doing baseball, and I said, heck yeah. And so I ended up, doing 2.5, 3 seasons, maybe 3.5, I can't remember offhand, over at Rickwood Field.
Oh, yeah.
The Hoover Met hadn't even been built yet.
I used to sell Cokes at Rickwood Field.
Did you really?
When I was
I used to sell soft drinks and peanuts at Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
When I was growing up in New York City, I couldn't afford to get into the events. We didn't have. My dad died when I was very young. We didn't have any money to speak of. So the best way to do it was to have them pay me.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to the Garden for every Rangers game, Knicks game, circus, Royal Lipizan Stallions, you name it, I was there selling peanuts.
You still have your call. You don't have to do it.
It was not, I was too young to sell beer. Beer is where the money was because you got paid a percentage of your sales. But I was too young to legally sell an alcoholic product in New York State. So the next thing was, what do I do? And I decided that I'd be better off selling peanuts. Why? Because those big silver crates that you had to carry the hot dogs in, well, those things weighed a ton. Everything else was work. Peanuts, you had it in a laundry basket. You'd put them under your arm, and you'd say, hey, get your peanuts here. And it was $1. Didn't have to be a mental giant to make change if somebody passed you a 5. And I would just toss the bags of peanuts, and they would toss the money down the row, and I did that. But I did it in the cheap seats, all the way up in the blue seats of Madison Square Garden, because I wanted to be near the press box. It wasn't so much to just watch the game or to sell peanuts. I wanted to ambush the broadcasters as they came to and from their booth and ask them questions.
Yeah.
And that's what I did.
Well, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back and talk about how you went from peanuts to press box.
You got it.
This is Our Issues Birmingham. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham. We've been talking with Eli Gold about peanuts, actually, and now we're getting to the press box. So you wanted to be in the press box.
I did.
To get in the press box, you got to be around the press box.
I thought, and it helped. I met so many people, and they were wonderful. They would answer my annoying questions, but I really needed to learn what the business was all about. And the game is going on. I mean, the Knicks are playing the Celtics, or the Rangers are playing the Montreal Canadiens, and everybody's watching the ice or watching the court. Me, I was staring at the radio booth. I was watching these men just talk. I couldn't hear them. I was, in the seating area. I was too far away, but I would just watch them. I would watch the stage manager hand them their cards, their cue cards, their audio copy, whatever it might have been. And I was eaten up with the business. And it became very clear that I was never going to be an athlete. So if I wanted to, but I wanted to be involved with sports, and I loved traveling. Mm-hmm. And what better way to see sports and to travel the world than to do it on somebody else's ticket.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what
What
got
was your
me
first gig in the press box, if you recall?
My first gig might have been Boston University football against the Citadel.
Oh, boy.
That might have been it, or it might have been a minor league hockey game. I honestly don't remember that very first one.
When you're preparing, now I know you have to, this day and age, in the position you're in, know every insignificant, significant detail about Alabama football.
Sure.
You know, I'm a guy that believes that the new year in Alabama does not start until Alabama is finished playing football. I mean, courts don't open, everybody stays still.
Right.
So what prep do you do before you go into the box to call a game?
The prep is ongoing. Number one, life experience is my prep. But on a normal week, on Sunday, after the game the day before, on Sunday, I'll begin getting rosters and information together about the next week's opponent. I will then send it off to a printer, because you have a chart in front of you, a spotting chart that we have designed over the years. My spotter, Butch Owens, he actually came up with the original design, and then we got it modified with a gentleman who lives in Harrisonburg, Virginia. But I get all the information together, stuff that I need, and I ship it off to him electronically, of course, in Harrisonburg. And then he writes, his people do all the layout. They take everything they need, they shove it on the chart in the format that I like, because we've talked about it over the years. And then he will eventually, by Monday night or Tuesday morning, he'll ship it to the FedEx office location right by the Galleria here in Hoover, and I'll go over there and pick it up. So I've got that chart completed. Also on Monday, I'll do the tease. I'll write with Tom Stipe, our producer. We'll write the tease for the broadcast on the coming Saturday. I'll write a tease for the Thursday night Nick Saban show. I'll record that with the folks and with a group in Missouri where we use their studios, their production studios. And then all week I'm looking at the chart, I'm filling things in, I'm adding to this, adding to that. For me, my week of prep has to be done by the end of business Thursday, because that's when I do the Nick Saban show. And I don't want anything to come up during the Nick Saban show that I'm not prepared to handle.
It almost sounds like you're trying a case in my world.
Yeah.
It's a living and breathing event that is occurring in the moment.
Yeah.
And you can prepare, but then something happens in the moment. You have to convert it into words, from eyes to brain to words, for people that are not watching it.
And you're doing it without a net, because once those words leave your mouth, they're gone.
Yeah.
We don't have the luxury of being a sports writer with a backspace key. We don't have a backspace key.
Well, but when you do that, you just say, you keep going forward, like reading music.
You do. You keep going forward. Many times things will happen. You get tongue-tied, what have you. And the one thing you don't want to do is stop, unless it's a factual error. But one thing you don't want to do is stop and point it out to the viewers and listeners, because they don't. Well, and they don't listen that closely. You know, I remember we had a guy. This is a true story. I'm in Cincinnati doing a hockey game.
You're gonna have to hold it. Because we got to take a break.
All
I got a feeling it's gonna be a
Come
great
back for the story. Yep.
I want to hear the story.
All right.
So I'm gonna take a short break. Don't leave me.
No, we got to pay Tommy's salary, folks. Pay attention to this commercial.
This is Our Issues Birmingham. We're going to take a short break and come back for a very interesting story. Don't go away. Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham. Eli Gold is about to tell us a story
as to why you don't stop and point out a mistake. I'm doing a hockey game in Cincinnati, and there was a great hockey player, used to play on the United States Olympic team. I mean, this guy was good. His name was Robbie Ftorek, Ftorek. He went on to be with the New York Rangers. He was their captain. The guy was good, okay? And in the course of doing the play-by-play, here came Robbie Ftorek with the puck skating up the ice at Riverfront Coliseum in Cincinnati. Except why I did it or whatever, I don't know. But instead of saying Ftorek with the puck, I juxtaposed those first two letters, and, well, you can do that for yourselves at home. And my engineer looked at me as if to say, did you just say that? And I knew exactly what I had said by accident, obviously, but I didn't stop and correct it. Because at home, somebody was probably saying,
I can't believe
Harry, did he just say what I thought he said? And Harry said to Pearl, no, he didn't say that. Come on. So you don't want to point out your mistakes if you don't have to.
Because you might not notice them.
Yeah.
I do have a question
Yes,
about
sir.
a new thing going on in sports, and I know you've got to be around it and have an opinion about it. NIL. Mm-hmm. What has it done in the portal? All of that, to me, has changed the landscape of college athletics.
It has.
Tremendously.
As far as compensating the players, I have no problem with that.
Me either.
These guys they're human beings. They got a right to work.
They're generating millions of dollars.
Yes. And the portal, which we all knew, even Coach Saban had said it. He goes, be careful what you ask for because you're going to get it. And obviously a school like Alabama, a school like your alma mater, Auburn, they benefit from the NIL. People want to play. They benefit from the portal. People want to play for Alabama. They want to play for Auburn, in the SEC, Kentucky, wherever it might be, Tennessee. So getting good players to Tuscaloosa in the portal is not a problem. It's the other smaller schools trying to get players into their school. It's not that easy of a two-way street.
So it's created an imbalance.
Yes, it really has.
Not intended.
Well, whether it was
what
intended or not, some coaches like Nick Saban saw it coming.
Yeah.
And he said, just be careful what you're asking for. And obviously Alabama has benefited mightily by getting guys through the portal. They have benefited mightily by their brand, the Alabama Script A brand, being an international logo, and the NIL obviously has benefited the players as a result.
Well, are we going to end up with a handful of conferences with multiple?
Probably not a handful. I don't necessarily see us having 5 super conferences. It could be 3 super conferences.
Okay.
It could be...
So smaller.
Yeah. A smaller number of conferences with a greater number of teams. You just never know. Who knows? We're all sitting here speculating. But I do know that the bigger and the better will get bigger and better.
What about the 12-team playoff? What do you think about that?
Well, I understand why they're doing it.
I do too.
I understand why they're doing it.
TV.
Well, TV and the fairness to some schools who would otherwise never have a chance to be in the playoffs. Alabama's been there every year except one or so, and it didn't, this year it almost affected. This year, with Alabama getting in at number 4, there was going into all of that selection weekend, you probably said to yourself, goodness, too bad the 12-team playoff isn't here now, because clearly the Tide would be in. And it wasn't clear until they announced their name on that selection Sunday. But I understand why they're doing it. There are a lot of people out there complaining. Look at the Florida State situation this year. You know, undefeated. They did everything that they were asked to do, but it wasn't enough. So I guess from a fairness standpoint, I know why they're doing it. I don't know if Alabama needed the help necessarily, but it's nice to have a little net to work with.
For the future, since you are connected at Alabama, is there ever going to come a day when there is no Nick Saban at the University of Alabama?
I dare say eventually. I will tell you this, I have never asked him, and I don't plan on asking him. That's not...
Maybe I should have him on and ask.
Well, God bless you. If you'll answer that directly, that's fine. You know, the man loves what he does. He's healthy. He is a young 72 years old, and he has always been around a team. You know what that's like. Even here, you got camera people, folks in the control room, what have you, editing the whole show. You got to have a team, and Nick has always been around a team. Nick Saban and teams go together, and I don't see him willfully stepping down unless, God forbid, his health would deteriorate or something. But I don't see him going anywhere.
I don't either. Well, I'm very grateful for you taking the time to be here.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure.
I feel like there's a lot more we could talk about.
Oh, there's hours of stories to tell.
So if I encroach upon our mutual friend to have you back,
yes,
will you come back?
Definitely.
Well, thanks for being with us today, and I'm glad you're on the mend health-wise.
Thank you, Tommy. I appreciate it, sir. Good to be with you.
This is Our Issues Birmingham. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next Sunday.
We get it. Your mornings are hectic.
We're here to help you get ready for your day.
Good Morning Alabama on ABC 3340.
GMA doesn't waste your time.
Local weather, traffic, and news always on your screen.
So the information you need, always where you can see it, even during commercials.
Plus, we have the Good Morning Alabama live desk.
Always updating breaking news in your neighborhood and around the world.
Everything you need to prepare for your day. Good Morning Alabama on ABC 3340. Alabama Weather Authority. In your home, in your office, in your pocket. Constantly updated by your ABC 3340 weather team and available to you anytime, anywhere. Local weather from local experts. ABC 3340, the Weather Authority working for you.